Muted.
Statement. And then finally, we talk about the next phase. So let us continue. What is Sage 300 Intelligence? Well, it is an easy to use. If I can do that quickly. Easy to use, it's powerful, as we will see, and it's Excel based. Okay, so one of the things when Sage Intelligence came along was the fact that it is Excel based. Okay, and most of the people in finance are very familiar with Excel. Okay, so oops, screen. Let's go back to my. Okay, so let us compare some of the products that we have for reporting within the Sage 300 product. Let us first talk about Sage Intelligence and the GL Financial Reporter, which is commonly known as FR, which comes with the system, and there is no extra cost to use the Financial Reporter without any extra cost. Sage Intelligence, there is an extra cost. So first of all, both of these build reports within Excel. So they both use Excel. So that's what's common. Sage Intelligence, however, has access to all the modules within the system and, in fact, data outside of Sage 300. While the GL Financial Reporter, you can only report from General Ledger module. So if you're looking to create a report from, let's say, AP or AR or inventory, you would have to use something else. Probably you would have to use, most people use something called Crystal Reports or SAP. Okay. The intelligence product can do multi-company consolidations. The GL Financial Reporter only works on one company. Okay, so that's a significant difference. Okay, let us look quickly at the Sage 300 Intelligence product as compared to Crystal, as it was commonly known, or SAP. They both provide custom reports. We have a number of reports that can be customized. So you can use these both tools to customize reports. And you are given many standard reports when you get the Sage Intelligence. In Crystal, all the modules, all the standard reports within ACPAC, other than the standard financial reports, are in Crystal, right? So, and you can modify these. The modification for Sage Intelligence, I think personally, is easier because it is Excel-based. Otherwise, you have to learn Crystal reports. So you can customize reports in Crystal, of course, but you have to learn another product. As opposed to with Sage Intelligence, as long as you know the Excel features, the amount of learning that you have to learn to actually use it, it's very small. And you can also have interactive reports, meaning that you can print a report and you can change the parameters on the report. As opposed to Crystal report, you would have to either rerun it or you would have to create another report. Okay, so now let's talk about if you decide to customize a report, how do you go about doing it? This is often a point of difficulty because some people, they would ask the business partner, oh, I want this report. And when the report is delivered, then there's lots of changes afterwards. So there is no plan or process in place for creating a report. And sometimes the report takes longer than they should. Okay, so what I want to suggest is that maybe you should use a sort of 5-step process. One is discover or do what we call typically the needs analysis. What exactly do you want in the report? What is this report supposed to achieve? Who are the players? Who are the what we call the stakeholders? Who is going to get the report and what are they going to use it for? Then you need to have a rough plan about the specification, what kind of information. Do you need previous year information? Do you need to have the report shown by months, by days? Do you want to have the ability to expand and contract information? So for example, I might want to see all the revenue accounts, but I don't want to see it in detail all the time. I might want to collapse it, and then if I wish, I could then go to each category and drill down on it or see more of it. The next step, of course, is to develop the report. Okay, so this is what we are going to be doing today. We're going to develop a report. Okay, then the next step is, after the report is developed, is to deploy it to the consumer, whoever is going to need this report. And in the intelligence product, there are different ways we can do this. We can even do it based on a condition. So for example, if revenue falls below a certain number, then the manager, one manager particularly, wants to see that immediately. Or let's say we have cost, and cost is measured by, or is of concern to different people in the organization. If the cost rises above a certain number, then they can get access. Then you can send this statement, financial statement, to a particular manager. So it all depends on what you want to do. And finally, all reports evolve over time. For example, somebody might say, I need a 12-month income statement. And then when that statement is delivered, then they might say, oh, but I needed to do something else. Okay, I need to see maybe a common income statement, or I might want to see the actual versus the budget. So once the statement is done, usually after a couple of months, people say, you know what, this is a great statement, it solves our need, but can we go further? So we need to have room to have your statement expanding, or be aware that it could. This is what you see on the screen is what I consider my phase of somebody drawing up a rough idea of what they would like. So you would notice on top here, I'm going to use sample data, and I have the years. It starts off at the 6th period, but as I go this way, I see the previous 12 months. Okay? So what is a rolling income statement? So that's what we're going to produce. We are going to produce this at the end. Okay? What is it? So it is a report that shows the running values for the last 12 months. So I could have 12 months and, the current period, and then I could have 12 months after that. When the current period moves forward, the last period will then drop off. So we would have always 12 months. Okay, and this is a useful tool for tracking a company's progress and for showing trends. So you can see whether the revenue is increasing or whether it's decreasing for a particular period. Okay, so let's get started on creating this statement. So I'm going to minimize my I'm going to minimize, can you see that? Let's go to, let me just, okay, so I'm going to minimize the screen, and we are now in my Sage 300. I have already opened the report manager, right? And I'm going to run, I created, if you need, I assume that people here know how to create a new folder. You just click on this, for example, add a folder, give it a name. So for example, you might want to call it income statement folder. Right. And usually it will show up at the top, but when you refresh the screen later on, this will be sorted alphabetically. If you want to, if you want to create a financial statement, and today we are talking about financial statement, so there's financial and non-financial statement. The focus today is on financial statement. So if you wanted to start a financial statement, then what you would have to do is you would have to start off with a template in the design folder. Okay, so you would copy this, right-click, copy. Okay, so there's different ways of doing it. You can either do it that way, or you can use the icons on top here. So you click on this, and you would see, let's say, Report Designer, and you would copy it. Okay, so right-click, let's copy that, and we can paste it in this folder. Just right-click and paste again. Okay, when you expand the folder, yes, my system seems to be a little bit. Yeah. So there we have a copy that you can work with. These ones here, the ones that come with a program, you would notice that you cannot edit it unless you copy it. So you would always have the original in a safe place. Okay. Now what I have done is I've already changed the name. You can always go inside here and change the name. So for the sake of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this. So I highlight this, run, and I'm going to say what I need is I'm going to select the 2 years. I'm using sample data, and the sample data is in the year 2020. Okay. So what is going to happen is it's going to execute a number of sub-reports. Okay. And that's why you see it taking a little while, because there's a number of reports created here so that you don't have to do a lot of stuff from scratch. So it's already giving you, for example, a list of accounts, etc., for the system. Now, this is the non-financial report works slightly different. Okay, so this session is on financial reports. So it's rendering the data, and it's going to automatically open up Excel. And when you first open it up, it's going to be blank. In my case, I've already created some tabs. So in your case, you will not see all of these from step 1 to step 7. You will not see that. Okay? What you will see is just an instruction sheet that comes at the beginning here, and everything else will be blank. I have done this in order to, in case something goes wrong, I have everything laid out already. Okay? So from here, we have the ability to have standard financial statements, which we can run. You can highlight these and just generate a layout. Okay? And you will see that quickly it's generating a layout right here. So there's already balance sheet and income statement already built in for you. Okay? But today, what we're going to do is we're going to create one from scratch. Okay? Right, so you would see revenue, etc. Now, if you notice here, right, this is expanded. We can collapse it, of course. Notice up here we have some criteria. So if I wanted to change the year, I could just type in 2020, for instance, tab, and the data will change. Okay, so this is the end product. This is like a standard that's given to you, so you can do this. I'm just going to delete this. We don't need this today. And if I wanted to create a new, the first thing what we should do is we should build our parameters. So at first, that's why planning is important. You have to know what you want to look for. So in my case, we want to create, let's say, an income statement. I might want to use it for other companies. So in, let's say, cell C1, I'm going to create an Excel formula called concatenate. Okay, I start typing it. I select here. So now I'm going to concatenate something, let's say, from, let's say, oh, where's my health? I really don't need that. I'm going to select, let's say, something I'm eventually going to place in a cell that's hidden here. So I'm just going to leave it blank for now. Put a comma in, and let's say, space rolling income statement. Okay. So the next, I'm going to put some parameters in. I'm going to company. Now, the reason I'm doing this is that later on, I would be able to change this for maybe use a different company, maybe start off with a different year. Current period. If I have multi-currency, I'm going to and finally type. Spelling it correctly is useful. Okay. So now my company, I'm going to say, is going to be SAM Limited. Oops. The year is going to be 2020. Oops. I'm a little bit nervous today for some reason. Maybe it's all the, okay, current period is going to be, let's say, start off at 3. Currency, this company use Canadian dollars, and the currency type is going to be functional. Okay, now I used a concatenate here, so I'm going to go back and say what I want to do is put this cell inside here. So, and then hit F4 just so that it doesn't move. And I'm going to then say tab just to close it down. Tab. And you would see SAM Company Limited. If I need to fix that a little bit, I could just go inside here and maybe put a little space right here. So, tab. So if I wanted to use this for another company, let's say I have more than one company, I could always use the same statement. Okay. The next step is, let's say I wanted to build my year here should change, so I'm going to put inside here year, and below here, let's say period. Okay, so what I want to do here is, this will look first at this field. So whatever I type inside here will show up in this place. So this is going to be simply a very simple Excel formula. And let's say I'm going to do F4. Okay. Oops. Escape. Equal to this F4 and then tab. Okay, and then this one here is going to be equal to F4 again and then tab. Now, what I want here now is the period. If this is the current period, then this is going to be one period less. Okay, so, and it should go 2, 1, and then it should go to the 12th period here. So what I have to do is I have to build a formula inside here that says, okay, look, I'm going to use an if statement. I'm going to say if, right, and I started off here, and I said, okay, what's the test? The test is going to be if this let's say E9, so if E9, and let's say I'm going to do F4, and I'm going to do it such that the row is going to change. If that -1 is less than or equal to 0, is less than or equal to 0, then the next part is going to be true. So if it is less than 0, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want the position, let's say E is going to be F9. Okay, let's say it's going to be E8 minus 1. So that's going to be it's going to be E9 minus 1. So it's going to be E9, and I'm going to just, so that when I copy the statement across, oops, backspace, E9, one more time. -1. Okay, it's going to be plus, and then add 12 to that. So shift plus 12. And then if that's not the case, then all I want to do is put, let's say, E9 -1. So that formula here, it looks 2. So now if I scroll across, if I drag it across like this, okay, I would see that if I have here, let's say I change this to 5, or let's say 2, you would see that, okay, this becomes 2, this is going to be 1, and it will start the 12th period from the previous year. So the next step is I want to change this so that if it's in the same year, it's going to recognize that, oh, wait a minute, it's 2020, but when it reaches 12, it should say 2019. So again, I have to use I could use an if formula, and this is going to be similar to the other one. So I'm going to say if, okay, I'm sure this is, some of you, this is pretty straightforward. If, let's say E9, and again, -1 is less than, oops, -1 is less than or equal to 0, then E8, which is going to be the year, which is this one here, E8, F9, F4, sorry, -1, that's E8 -1, right? Otherwise, just put the same year. So if this is not true, then we're just going to do E8. So that's going to be, I'll just do it one more time. Okay, and then, so we have our formulas done quickly tab. Okay, did I make a mistake? Oh, it's supposed to be a 1 there. So if E9 -1 is less than or equal to 0, then this is true, otherwise this, and then tab. So now it looks the same, but the main thing is when I copy this over now, you would see that this is going to change. So again, I could change my formula up here, change the current period, so I can change it. So now I've got to build formulas that point to this. So I have already done, if you, I'm just looking at the time here, seeing that I don't want to go over time. So I've already done what we just did over here, right? Then the next step is we are going to create, if I go to my formulas here, and I will look at the 3, I am going to, if you click on the ellipsis here, you would see all the tools. I'm going to look at my list, and I'm going to drag, I'm going to do it by account group. So I'm going to drag my account group over to here, let's say till about 11. And these account groups, of course, come from Sage 300. So all of these were sub-reports that I was doing. So what I'm interested in is the income statement. So I'm going to quickly get rid of some of these things here. So I don't need that. I'm going to leave the space here. I don't need anything to do with the balance sheet, seeing that I want to do income statement. So I'm just going to right-click and delete all of these. Right? And really and truly, I don't need any of this either, so I'm just going to delete that. Okay, so what I have here is the grouping which I'm going to be building on to create my financial statement. Okay, so we are going to use these, and we are going to use a new feature in Intelligence which came out in 2016. So we are going to use this feature here under Tools. We will use the dynamic account range. Okay, so what was also added besides the dynamic account range in 2016 is the ability to find accounts that are not included in your statement. This is significant because before this feature, if you add in an account you would have to pay attention every time you add an account to make sure that it was included in your financial statement. Now you can run a report and see what is included. You still have to add it manually because by design you might leave out some accounts. So you still have to add it in manually, but at least you know what account is not included. The dynamic account range, which we'll be using in this report, allows you to, if account is added, it will automatically show up on the report and in detail. So you will also see it in detail. So let's proceed now with creating some formulas for each of the lines here. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is, of course, set up some of the formulas. So I've already deleted some rows to make it look cleaner, but you might want to prepare by including some rows here. So we'll insert some rows. Maybe I do another one. And then I might want to do, yeah, insert. Right. So I might want to add, so I might have revenue minus cost of sales. So I might want to type in here gross profit and okay. So eventually we'll use a formula that revenue minus cost of sales is going to give us gross profit. We might want to add other things in. So at the end here, I might want to add something like this. Insert. So here I might want to add total revenue. Okay, I have prepared, so I'm just going to go quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time cleaning it up. Okay, so the next step after we do all of this is we would like to add some formulas in these areas here. So one of the formulas, if I go to the formula tab now, is I go to formula. So I might want to drag actual. So what you would have to do is you would have to drag this across like this, right? And so whatever the formula is, you drag it across. Okay. Now this formula is now referring, you need to modify it so it refers to what you call the parameters up here. Okay? Because if I want to change this, right? If I change the year 2000, I want it to reflect it in the formula. So what you would do is there are different ways of doing, but you can click on this, and you'd say, okay, I want this to point to an account that eventually is going to be inside here. Okay, so and what you could use is you can use F4 to say, okay, well, the B is always going to be in row B, but this is going to change if I drag the formula down. The company is going to be Sam Company Limited, so it's always going to point to that area. So then I hit F4. Right. The year, I can change it depending on what I type inside here. So again, that field, okay, F4, and then if I want the current period, I hit F4 again, so that it's frozen. There's a 2 minute for in Excel. The group code here, right? I am going to be using this group code here, so that is not going to change, right? And then when I scroll down here, the currency code is going to be Canadian dollars, and finally the type is going to be functional currency. Okay. You can format this, of course. Notice that this is a revenue, so it shows up as a minus sign. So if you want to present it, there are different ways. You can either multiply by -1, or you can put a minus sign in front of here. You could do it different ways. Okay, and again, you can format it. Maybe include number, and I can say use a separator. I might want to leave it as 2 decimal places for now, but later on I might want to change it depending on how you want it done. And then all you have to do is copy this across like this, right? And of course, let's make this a little bit bigger. So I can just change this to, let's see what's the size of this cell, 10.4. So I can just do like this. Okay. Okay. So this is, we are adding the formulas in. So like I said before, let me see step 2. I've already built this inside here, right? And I'm going to get to a stage where I'm going to show you how to do this first of all, and then we're going to run it. So the next step after you've done that is sheet 1, no, sorry, sheet, this one here. Okay, I'm going to use the new tool. I could always put something inside here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use this account description here. Yeah, I'm just going to drag that. I want it in this area here. So I'm going to right-click, delete. Okay. So I'm going to do it for one of them. What I'm going to do here now is below this is going to include a lot of rows. So I'm going to say this is equal to sum. Okay, and you have to make sure that it's a range. So I'm going to select this range right here. I'm going to make sure it's a range, and then bracket, and then tab. Okay? So right now there's nothing, no values in here, so I can just, again, just drag it across. Okay? So the main thing is what I'm about to show you is how to use the new feature called under tools, the dynamic account ranges. So one of the ways of doing it is simply clicking on the setup button. So if I click on the setup button here, it's going to ask me select a range of cells. So this is like a template here. So I'm going to click on the to select the range, and then I'm going to select from this spot here all the way to wherever I want it to go to. So this is going to create formulas up to that point. Okay. Then the column that I'm going to look at the accounts is going to be column B. So all the accounts are going to be listed under this area here. So all I have to do is select the column B. Right. Okay. If I am using this, there is no need to select individual accounts, as it will. Later on, I will show you a different technique if you want to put a particular range of accounts. Right. So I could also exclude zeros, or if I decide not to do it at this moment, I could do it at a later point. I go next, and I said, okay, where do I want to put this formula? So what I can do is I can put the formula right here. So I'm just going to say, this formula is just going to go into this area here, okay, and then I'm finished. Okay, so I would go ahead and build a few more of these, right? But what I want to do right now is, so I'm finished with that. I am going to refresh it to show you now all the accounts coming in. So all I have to do now is click on the refresh button here. And if it works, you would see I have everything, the sum, yeah. Oh, I forgot one thing. I have to put some formulas inside here. Where did my formulas go? Oh, I forgot to put a formula inside here. So let me quickly do that. Go back into my formulas. I'm going to drag my actual across like this, and I'm going to modify quickly again. So FR, FX, sorry, go to the account, which is in this area here, hit F4 twice. Company is going to be this, and the year is going to be 2020, and this is going to be this, F4. The account group code is going to be 15, and I'm going to do the currency code, of course, is Canadian, and hit the absolute value. Then go to this, select this, F4. Hit OK. Okay, and as I mentioned before, this I can put a minus sign inside here. I change to formula tab, and of course, you can. I'm just going to quickly format this quickly, so that when I copy it across, oops. Okay. Okay. Format cells, and I'm just going to do, let's say, number, and let's do this. Copy this across. And now I'm going to go back to, so if I look here now, okay, let's make sure that this formula is referring to, it's referring to this right now, but what I can do is I can change it so that it actually refers to these columns here. So what I'm going to do is, that could be changed. I'm just going to refresh it quickly, and then I'm going to go to my next tab. What time is it? Yes, so time is of the essence. Go to my tools, and then tools, and hit refresh. Okay, and this is what, that's why I prepared this. So what should happen is that it should refresh, and these accounts should show up here. So if I, what I have here is, without being refreshed, if I click on this button here and click refresh, oops, there's a problem, no dynamic range forms. Let me just go to this step here. So here, if it clean out of that, something is not working, right? And what it will do, it will add in all the ranges, all the accounts here, okay? So then what I have to do is collapse it. So all I did was I highlighted the area here, and then go to data, click on group, right? Now the first time you do it, it will group to the bottom, okay? So the first time you do it, it will look something like this, right? And this is not what you want. You want it to group it above here. So what you have to do is simply click on this part here, so you get more choices, and then uncheck this, so then it will show up here. So then it will look something like this, okay? Here, if I wanted to, notice that these are based on the grouping. But here, I didn't want this particular account, an account for interest, which is in the 4,000 range. So what I did was I am doing a range. I say I want from 5,000 to this account, then from this to this. So I'm leaving out account something in the 6,000 range. It's the interest expense account. And then what I did was here, I again did the sum. I put in a formula, right? And this formula is very similar. It's all the same, right? It points to the same thing. So if I were to scroll up here, if I highlight this, again, it's the same thing, but here it's pointing to this. Notice that this formula here is now pointing to this. Okay, so it's pointing to whatever I have on top here. And then what I'm going to do is I can build the formula out so that it looks something like this. Okay, so again, I just go back one step to show you how to do this. You can put it anywhere, but I'm just going to click on this. The formula, I'm going to do it manually then. I'm not going to use the setup button. right? It's the same formula, but I'm not using the setup button. All I'm doing is clicking on the Excel function. I'm going to say, okay, let me use, if I scroll down, the report designer, add in CH300. When I scroll down here, I'm looking for the dynamic account range. Right, okay. So now the range is going to be, I have to type it in manually. So what I'm going to use is, let's say, it's from the template is from this cell here all the way across to, let's say, this area here, right? The column, where the account numbers are going to be located is going to be, if I scroll back, it's going to be in column B, which is out here. So I click on this, and I'm going to select column B and close that down. So now I have where the template is. I have where the accounts are going to be. The account rule is going to be these accounts here. So I'm going to select this cell, which is going to tell me all these accounts. Okay. And if I wanted to exclude 0 or include 0, I can either put a 0 or 1 here. So if I start off with a 0 and then hit OK, so I've just created it manually without using the setup. If I were to refresh it now, okay, again, you would see the accounts coming inside here. Okay, and this is what it would look like. Okay, what I would have to do is collapse it again. So I would select all the rows from here all the way to just below here. Where am I? Okay, right here. I can do it up to here if I want to, and then just group it. So now when I collapse it, this is what I would see. I would see here. Where is it? Yeah, the expenses here. Maybe I should have left the space in. So that is what I did. So I was able to do this for the rest of these. I would have my revenue. If I expand it, I would see all the revenue accounts, right? If I look at my cost of sales, notice that the formulas inside here, right, as you move to the right, if I were to minimize this, get rid of this for a second, if I were to look at the formulas here, you would see that it's referring to this up here. It's changing. Again, if I wanted to make one change, so let's say, for example, let's say I wanted to start off, let's say it's the 5th month, so the 5th period. I changed to 5 here. Notice automatically how this would change. So tab, okay. And if I scroll to the right, you will notice that the last period will drop off. Okay. So once you have this, okay, once you create something like this, then people, so this is, we have finished the rolling income statement, okay? What I want to show you is that usually what happens is people say, oh, that's great, but can I get something to compare the, let's say, for the whole revenue? I can see the revenue, I can see how it's changing, but it might be easier if I use like something like a spark line, for example. So what a spark line would do is give you like whether this is increasing or decreasing rather than just looking at the numbers. So in addition to this, now you can start adding other things if you wanted to. So if I go to my, let's say insert, where is my spark line? I just have to find it. I'm sure all of you are screaming at me now saying, oh, it's right there. Anybody see spark lines? Insert, slices, equation. Sorry? I'm looking for, right here, spark lines, okay? So it's right here. It's in the obvious place where it's always been. Okay. So if I wanted to add it in, all I have to do now, let's say instead of doing columns, I can do, let's say, like a line. And then the range, what I have to do now is I can click on this just like I did before and then select this range here. And then hit enter. Oh, just close out of this here and hit OK. So what I would have here now is, this is, oops, if I move it, you would see this is showing the flow of the revenue. Okay, so you could add stuff like that if you wanted to, because and you could add it for all the different ones here. So if you're interested in maybe expenses, or you might want to look at a particular expense, you can do it that way. Some people like the visual approach. So again, what I've done here is I'm just showing you, if you look here, I've just added in a graph that shows the revenue and cost of sales. Okay, so if I were to notice that this is period 5, I had to add it in because we're just saying 1. So I added this row in here. If I would change this, let's say I wanted to go back to start the period 3, notice that everything would change automatically. Now this is period 3 here, 2020. So I can get an idea of how my revenue is going, the trends then. I can see the trends of my revenue versus my cost of sales. So the cost of sales looks like it's pretty roughly steady, but there's great swings in my revenue. So this, again, and then you can add to this whatever you want. You can put this on another sheet. Like, you don't have to put this on the same sheet. You can place it anywhere you want. So if you're doing a presentation, usually for, let's say, a board of directors or something, they are often impressed by the visuals versus, let's say, the actual numbers. But you do have the actual numbers here. So both go hand in hand. Okay. So what I would do now is I would wrap it up for a little bit. I would go back to my PowerPoint very quickly. So let me minimize this. So I need to open this. Oops. Where did we go? Right here. No, this. My PowerPoint is, if I were to minimize this, minimize that, and this is my PowerPoint. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. Right, so I'll just make it bigger. So I've created a rolling income statement. Now what we'll do is, if there's any questions or that you would like to ask, we have a few minutes. So I have left that to ask for questions. Okay.
So you can use this, William, statement for other companies?
Okay. So one of the questions is, can I use this particular statement for other companies? The answer is yes. But what you have to be careful about is, in this particular company, you notice that I use account range. So if the account range is different in other companies, then you would have to modify that slightly. But generally, you can use this statement. All you would have to do is export the statement and then import it into if it's another database altogether, and you can use it, or copy it into another area in intelligence. But yes, you can. So this means that your statements that you create in one company can be reused.
I have another question from the audience here. What is the layout generator?
Okay, so you might have heard about the layout generator. This is another way of creating financial statements. So if I were to, let me see if I can minimize this for a minute without closing everything down, maybe. Okay. Minimize. So if I go back here to Report Manager, up here there is something, if you have a report, I think I have this report open already, there is something inside here called the layout generator. And this is another way of modifying or creating these statements. Okay, and it involves some drag and drop, etc. So what I did was I used Excel completely. So some people like this approach, and some people like the, so here I can create an income statement by having things built and then dragging and dropping it. And the way you build it is you will be under row sets, for example. You will, here I would see I'm doing it by a particular grouping. So this is rule 140. I have created these groups, and then all I would do is drag and drop. And here, if I click on cost of sales, these are the accounts that are going to be in that group. So this is another way of using the report designer. I have just shown you one way in this particular session, simply because of the time factor. Okay.
We have another question for you, William. You mentioned non-financial statement. Are they created differently?
Yes. The financial and non-financial statements are created differently. You can use the report designer to create financial statements. So non-financial statements, you don't use the report designer. You use Excel features, but not the report designer. If you recall, I dragged across the account grouping. That feature, of course, is not in the non-financial statement because there's no grouping for let's say, vendors or stuff like that. So it is created slightly differently. We will be doing more other sessions on non-financial statements. Any other questions?
I have unmuted everyone, so if there is any questions, feel free to speak up. As I've not received any other questions on chat, so please go ahead. Well, shy this morning, I think we are. William, you mentioned perhaps for next week, just a follow up on the presentation today.
Okay. So what we have done is going through these statements in 45 minutes is very tight in terms of time. So what we have done is we have offered our clients the ability to come to a live class. It's a hands-on lab, okay, in our Burnaby location, and space is limited because what we have is laptops for you. All you have to do is bring maybe a notepad, and we have the laptops ready, and we will walk you through step by step creating this statement. So at the end of the session, you will be able to do this on your own. And the techniques that you learn, you'll be able to apply to different areas. So this is something that we offer our clients so that we can empower you to use the tools within CH300 more effectively.
If there's any lasting questions before we go, thank you again for attending our first Sage Intelligence webinar. Again, please feel free to shoot me an email if there are any questions, as well as reserving your spot for next week. Again, as William mentioned, we don't have that many spaces or laptops to go around for the session, so if you can email me back and let me know if you are interested. I've emailed most of you with the details of the webinar, so you should have my email. Otherwise, you can still contact our office as well. And we hope to see you on our next month's webinar. It's scheduled for February 23rd at the same time at 9:30. Again, William mentioned that it'll be going through non-financials for next month. So I'll be sending out the invitation for that soon, and I'm hoping you will be there again to attend our webinar.
Okay, and especially for my friends in the Cayman Islands, if you want me to come down, no problem, right? I am more than willing to fly down to the Cayman Islands to do the hands-on session.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.